Hi, I'm Mia Parrish, and today on Devils in the Details, I'm with Carla Muller and Chuck Koselik, and we're talking about Ask a Biologist, which is one of my favorite things that has really grown in the era of COVID.
Right. Well, it's interesting because it has a long history. We go back to 1997. And just to put that into perspective, that's the brave new internet was what was the Times cover on the Times magazine. And there was no Google. And we had a single page. It was a way for people to reach our scientists and the scientists to respond in a not have to be instantaneous, but be thoughtful, but still get reach them. And that was a single page. And we fast forward today and we have over 6,000 pages of content. And we now have millions. Basically, we had 18 million visitors last year. We're looking at 25 million this year. But that in the grand scheme of things, you go from 1997 to 2017, 20 years, and it took us that long to get to 50 million visitors. The next 3 years, we're going to have the same amount. We're going to have another 50 million in 3 years.
Chuck, one of the things that was so interesting to me is about the educational partnerships, and how does that work and how long has that been going on?
The idea of partnerships, we're accessible to anybody, right? They don't even have to ask. And what we were finding is that a lot of EDUs, higher education, were coming and using our content. So we ran a report and found out there were over 18,000 visits from EDU sites. And some of the top ones are the City University of New York, University of Massachusetts, Michigan, University of Michigan, Georgia State University. There's quite a list. What happens is they embed those into their courses. So we have over 18,000 EDU visits. So those could be students on their own. We have the ones that is mentioned. And then we also know that there are particular LMS, learning management systems. And we know that 78 learning management systems are actually coming to us. So that means formal education has adopted the materials we're using. So it was an unexpected. Carla mentioned that we're more than just K-12. I always say we're K to gray. And this just reinforces it. We get into higher education. And I think it reinforces the fact that if you write in a compelling and engaging way, it scales from very young to the young at heart.
When you're describing Ask a Biologist to your friends and family, what do you say?
I basically say that it's for everyone. You know, a lot of people think of us as a K through 12, a website for K through 12 learners, but that's not true. You know, you can have people search Google and find us for tons of different random things. So I really like to share that it's for everybody and that they should go check it out. It's not just for kids.
So when you get there, what do you get? What's the...
Oh, wow. Well, you get stories, you get videos, you get online games, you get classroom lessons that are also good for science at home. You have virtual tours, you have comic books. We really try to diversify the different types of content that we have so that we try to engage everyone. And you can find a lot of those in a bunch of different languages too. We have 18 languages on the site now. Not everything is in every language, but we're working on it. But yeah, you get a lot when you visit.
And you have how many countries now, Chuck? How many?
The story goes that every year I do a report, and every year we would miss one country out of that year. Last year is the first year that we had every country come visit us, and that includes North Korea and the Holy See, which is the Vatican. There are not a lot of numbers from there, but we get them. So yes, virtually every country every year.
That's amazing. And that's how many? You've got 50 million people tuning in, checking in, learning from you.
Well, we've had 50 million in the last 3 years. This year we're going to have about 25 million. A big boost.
And
Yeah.
And is it mostly overseas? Is it here? Like they're coming in from everywhere.
We're very diversified. About 48% is international. 52% is basically in the U.S. And I'd say that the lion's share when we're in the Western hemisphere is through desktop. And when we switch to the other part of the globe, it's interesting because we become more mobile. So it's important for us to create content that's very easy to get to on any device. And so that's one of I think our claim to fame is you can reach us on any kind of a device.
Yeah, and that's also what makes us such a great part of ASU is that we're all about access too.
So anyone, anywhere who needs a biologist can come to you, which is pretty amazing that you're updating all of that in real time. What is your favorite thing about the site?
I think we get very busy creating content, working with teachers, working with researchers, and we forget the audience sometimes, and we don't get feedback every day, but we get it frequently, and it's the thing that keeps you going. It's when they're reaching out. For example, our virtual tours, we're going to have over 300,000 visits just this year on our virtual tours. And we get teachers that are reaching out to us and saying, we just love these. These are the best we've found, and we would like more. That's their
please more.
Yeah, not a complaint. They're just saying, when are you going to do more? The biggest thing about us, we're storytellers. Whether it's through a true story, a comic book, an activity, a game, the virtual tours, we're telling stories. And that's what's so important.
You were talking about sort of pre and post COVID and how much that's grown. So you've been around since 97 or so, but this exponential growth right now, what's that look like?
With COVID, as you can imagine, people were scrambling to see what they could do, especially in remote learning. So our games are a good example, and so are our VR tours. So games for 2020 alone were up 261%. That's for the whole year. And that's where people were scrambling. If you look at the beginning of the semester, starting in September, we're up 534%. And we have over 1.8 million game plays now. That's, at the moment, we're gaining 100,000 game plays a week. If you look at the virtual field trips, those are up 154%. And again, since the beginning of the semester, 254%, since people are getting their idea about how they want to do it. And that one's going to be over 300,000 virtual tours, which is really impressive to us. We like that. But what's even more impressive, we have more visits, and the time they're spending in it, they're spending 43% more time in each tour when they're getting there.
What does it mean to you to have that kind of volume?
I mean, I think it means that we're making an impact. It's really interesting because we haven't had that great of a chance to test all of our materials to make sure that they're meeting all of the learning objectives that we hope. But what we do know is that teachers who want to engage their students who want to be engaged, are using our materials. They're staying on the site, they're moving between pages on the site, they're finding a lot of things that they need on the site. And it's been great seeing that increase with COVID too, as more people are exploring the online learning realm and realizing what we have to offer.
So what's your favorite question that's been asked of Ask a Biologist?
Oh man. I think my favorite question was probably, could vampires ever evolve? Which was
okay.
Really interesting, especially because there is one true vampire within mammals, which is the vampire bat. We also have a few cultures that depend heavily on blood and milk for energy. So it was an answer that spanned animal physiology, anthropology, and then delved into natural selection and evolution. So I think that was probably one of my favorite ones.
That's a good one. And you concluded maybe?
I mean, possible, but not at all likely.
Not that likely. Okay. Chuck, how about you? What's your
favorite? Oh, yeah. I think my favorite for a couple of reasons. One is it's a very impressive question. Second thing is it came from a fifth grader, right? The question was, does a butterfly have the same brain that it had when it was a caterpillar?
Oh, I love that one.
I love that your mouth just dropped.
It's and this is a fifth grader. So it basically says that everybody's a scientist. And what we try to do is keep that scientist alive as you get older. So it's one of my favorite ones. And I'm not going to tell you what the answer is because you should go to Ask a Biologist. We don't publish all the questions and answers. We have more than 40,000 unique questions and answers. We don't publish them because they could go out of date. Science and biology in particular changes. But we do have our popular questions, and that's one of our top questions. And so if you go up there, you can find the answer.
So have you ever been stumped?
That's actually also one of my favorite parts, especially when people are asking questions that scientists haven't found answers to yet. It's really interesting as, you know, when you look at the education system and the way that a lot of students are taught, they tend to think of science as having hard answers for everything. But that's really not the case. You know, it's much more fluid. There are a lot of things that we're still learning. And it's really great when you have the chance to explain that to a student and say, great question, you know, maybe one day you can help answer that, but we don't know what it is yet.
And our scientists that answer, some of them are amazing, where they'll take a couple days to get back to us because we always say give us 72 hours, and they'll apologize because they needed to go look something up to check on the answers. They also are really good because scientists, as you know, there are competing ideas or hypotheses that are out there at times. And we have them that'll actually present all of them, and then they'll say, they'll say the camp, or this is the hypothesis that I'm working on, which I really love, the fact that it's, you know, it's more than just one thing going on at a time. It's not just one path.
A lot of those turn into conversations too, where, you know, they'll give a really great, thorough answer, and then the student will have more questions because of that answer. And so sometimes it goes back and forth a little bit.
You're really seeing them become scientists. That curiosity,
critical thinkers,
right? That's fantastic. That is wonderful. What do you think is next on the horizon for Ask a Biologist? You know, so many people come to the site. You've got 40,000 questions. The demand is there. What do you see in 2 years and 5 years?
So there's actually, like, next week or next month, that's our vaccine game that teach about vaccines, and our content on coronaviruses, and the story on vaccines. That's going to be next month, like I said, or the end of this month if we're really speedy. On the horizon, one of the important things we want to do is we're planning on changing the site around so that we can allow people to create accounts. We've never done that before. It won't be required, but it would allow a teacher to get a teacher account, a student to get a student account, a parent to get their parent account. And the beauty of that is then they'll be able to customize the website to get the kind of content surfaced so that they can get a more personal experience with Ask a Biologist. So that's the 2-year road, right? The other one that will be important for us is to continue our quest to build out our video content. We started, and we have a companion YouTube channel, which is actually quite successful. We've had over 1.3 million video views, which is around 34,000 hours or 3.8 years of watch time. But we really haven't spent a lot of time in there. And so we'll be doing more in that space. And that will also combine with our VR tours. We're getting an awful lot of people very interested in those. The challenge for those is getting to the locations. There will be one. I will tell you a VR tour coming up where I'm in Alvin, the deep sea submersible submarine. And that one you'll get to dive and see things out in the depths of the ocean. So that one will be kind of fun.
That one would be very fun. And one last question. If you could pick anywhere to go on a virtual field trip, where would you take someone, Carla?
Oh, well, it's interesting because I got to do sort of that for one of my dream locations. I went to Iceland last year and took all of the photos that we're using in the Tundra 360 tour, which we just recently published. I would love to go to Tasmania and explore. They are supposed to have a wide variety of biomes in a very small space. And I think that would be really great to see. You could see a bunch of different transition zones. That would be very interesting.
No, that sounds fantastic. Chuck, do you have a dream trip?
Not one. Alvin was one. So probably back to the ocean. There's a lot to be done there. It's a challenging space because most of the VR cameras aren't built to do deep sea exploring. We're hoping with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, WHOI, that basically runs Alvin, they're very interested in the VRs. And so we're hoping to collaborate with them and create a dive case for the VRs. And if we can, there's no one that has VRs like they'll be able to capture. So maybe that's also on the 2 to 5 year horizon.
Oh wait, I'm changing my answer.
I was going to say, can I come with you? Carla and I want to come along.
No, actually, that would be great too. But Antarctica would actually be my dream tour location. I'm trying to get there. I'm working on it.
And it would be super popular if you did. I would watch that one.
Good.
So, Chuck and Carla, thank you so much for joining me today on Devils in the Details. And thank you for opening the world of science to so many people all around the world. So important, so fun. And as the daughter of scientists, I'll say thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it was our pleasure. Thanks for inviting us, and let us know. We'll come back anytime.